I'm here with Jeffrey Hayzlett, the former CMO of Kodak, and he's currently the best-selling author of a book, The Mirror Test. So I'd love to have a little chat with him about social media, how he feels about it for networking, for building business relationships, and what it really did for him to build his brand and the Kodak brand while he was there.
Without doubt, social media has been a big part of my success, not only when I was at Kodak, but certainly with my book, The Mirror Test. In fact, it became a bestseller because of the relationships that I had with many people all over the world. In fact, people I never met and only met through social media, and now they're some of my very best friends.
When you were first introducing the book, you DM'd people, you were direct messaging a lot of people, and there was some talk, you know, is that okay? Is it okay to ask people to do this kind of promotion? And you were very upfront and clear about the fact that that's what social media is about. It's about building relationships. It's about taking those relationships and doing something useful with them. So I'd love to just hear a little bit about that feedback you got and what your response was and how you feel you've gone from the beginning when you started doing that to now when it's helped you build a bestseller.
That specific campaign was probably one of the most successful that I did in terms of going out to my followers and asking them to help me. Some people didn't like it. In fact, I had, of the 1,000 people that actually went and bought a book, I had 18 people who didn't like it, and a few of those were very vocal. And that's what that's about, is to be able to take that feedback. Doesn't mean you're right or you're wrong, it's just feedback, it's just an assessment. So you want to take a look at those kind of things and then, you know, weigh it out. A lot of people think that their way of doing things in social media is the only way. What you have to learn is that for every person that's out there, that's the way to do it.
Right.
And so it's different for each person. They do it for different reasons. And if, by the way, if you don't like it, then don't follow me. Then get out, opt out. That's what you did. And when people said, well, you're not allowed, you know, one person said to me, they said, look, I can invite you over to dinner, doesn't mean I want you to sell me a vacuum cleaner. I said, you didn't tell me I couldn't sell you a vacuum cleaner. Now you might not invite me back. And that's really what that's about. It's about that relationship. And if we didn't have that relationship and you don't like it, then fine. I'm okay with that. Stop following me. And I'm okay with you not following me and I'm not following you if that's the way we want to do things. And I think that's what you have to look at in terms of that's what this is all about. It's not about vomiting out information. It's about a give and take. It's about building hearts and minds, and that's what really comes out of it.
You know, Jeff, you brought up two very important points that I hear about a lot and I speak about a lot. One of them being that what I love about social media is it's the ultimate in permission marketing. If somebody doesn't want to follow you, don't follow you. If you don't want to listen, you're not waiting for someone to take you off a subscription list or do something that might not happen. You just stop paying attention. And the other point is that, and you made it so well, people look at you, and I know all the time they look at you and they say, you're a social marketing expert or you're there, and you make the clear point that there are no necessarily experts or gurus. Everybody is trying different things, and we're all not sure exactly what works, and different things work for different people, different things work for different brands. I love a term of yours that you use in the book and you speak about a lot. I use it everywhere I go. I talk about conditions of satisfaction. I recently did a blog post, and part of my title was conditions of satisfaction, and yes, I did give you credit for it. I did link, you know, to the mirror test on it, because especially in social media, I think we're getting a thing where people are saying we need to measure things, we need ROI, but every brand and every company has something that's different, that's important to them. There's a different goal, so you can't just make a basic measurement. This isn't about click-throughs or click-to-sale or impressions. It's about what do you want to accomplish when you're using this tool, whether you be a brand or you be an individual. Just wondering, you know, any more thoughts you might have in that respect?
This is about hearts and minds, and not just about being hearts and minds. It's really about being radically transparent. And I think that's what you get with me. I do things for my reasons, and that really relates to the brand. So let's look at Jeff Hayzlett's brand, or if you want to take Kodak's brand, or Apple's brand, or JetBlue's brand, or Ford's brand, you can do them all. A brand is two things. One, it's something that we put on a cow in South Dakota, so, and occasionally a horse, we might brand them. So that's really how the word came about. And so then if you take it a step further, it's really about being a promise delivered. And so it's whatever the promise is that you're delivering. And so, you know, I talk about people about being stewards of their brand. Well, you have a brand essence, and certainly that's good. In fact, I asked a young woman one time, what's her brand essence? She said spray tans and vodka. So I thought that was interesting, but I don't know, that's not my brand essence. So for each of us, so for me, it's about being radically transparent, and it's about, you know, making sure I live that way, and I do that with my social media. And if you find that you like to follow that, you find that you interact with that, then that's how I build those hearts and minds. minds. And if you're not interested, then I don't want you. And it doesn't mean I don't like you. It doesn't mean I don't want to be around you. It's just that you're not going to buy my product in essence. And that's what you want to look at in the way in which people do it. So I think the key thing for most people is to learn to be very, radically transparent, and be genuine in the way in which they approach things. And I think certainly you get that with me. If you're following me, if you're participating with me, you see that this is who he is. He really does wear cowboy boots. He really does love to ride horses. But at the same time, he's going to get in your face and ask you the hard questions, like I did in my book, The Mirror Test. And I do that, with my social media. Sometimes I might write, "Hey, bite me." I really don't care. Or, not that I don't care about people, but it's just saying, look, this is how I live my life, and if you're voyeuristic in it, in terms of watching, then by all means watch, but doesn't mean you have the right to weigh in all the time and tell me how to do things. And your way of doing things is different than the way I would do it, Ted. I mean, you were a CMO of a pretty good company, and I was a CMO. We did things differently. It doesn't mean that your way was right and my way was wrong. It just means we did them differently. And that's how I think most people need to approach social media, in the way in which they do it. But I think the key things you want to do is be radically transparent, to be genuine. And that's the thing that's probably changing most in this whole process, because people are still trying, especially big companies, are trying to put the old rules in place in something that's new, and we still don't know how it's going to shake out.